But most of the colleges that I've been allowed to speak at, most of the program was questions and answers from the students in the audience. And I hope that don't change tonight. But why is Northeast Mississippi so important? Number one, the first place in Mississippi that was converted to Christianity. Mississippi and most of what they call the West, and everything west of the Alleghanies was west. Everything west of Virginia and Maryland was frontier. And the first place that was Christianized was Northeast Mississippi. I know you ain't heard nothing like this before because they don't allow it in the books that have you study. But this black-white issue is by far the biggest issue in the world. Not just in America, not just in Mississippi, in the world. And Mississippi can solve it. Mississippi has made every major policy on the black-white race issue in American history. The first time the black-white issue was officially dealt with was in the Constitution of the United States. And they did it in a very smooth way. That's where this, was it 2/5 or 3/5?
3/5.
3/5 thing come from. They couldn't decide, so they ultimately came to the agreement that if you owned slaves, when you went to vote, if you had 100 slaves, however much that number was, 3/5, then that means instead of one vote, the owner had 76 votes. And that was the first time that the black slaves, and they were all slaves then, and that's what we haven't dealt with at all. The legacy of slavery, we talk about it, but most people don't even know what it is. And the consequences of segregation. The best explanation I had of the consequences of segregation was at dinner tonight. I asked one person if there was a black-white problem in Northeast Mississippi. I might get the answer wrong, but I got the substance right. He said there wasn't no problem. Because we, talking about the blacks, lived out yonder, and the whites lived either before get out yonder or beyond out yonder. and we didn't see them. We passed by where you turn to go see them. And it didn't have to pass by us. They just kept on the main road. So there wasn't no problem. But to show you the distinction between northeast Mississippi and the rest of Mississippi, somebody chimed in and had gone to school in the Mississippi Delta. And didn't know the difference between the bayou and Mount Bayou. And she accused somebody's daughter of going to Mount Bayou. And the father was so upset, he called names she couldn't repeat. Now, I hate to do this, but I got to, because I promised God there wasn't no lie no more. Most people, they just tickle a dip because they made the N word politically incorrect. Nobody can use that word anymore. But guess what? The only real consequence of not using the N word is that black elders cannot tell their story to their own children and grandchildren. Ooh, Grandma, you can't use that word. What you talking about? They called you a N-word when James Meredith went to that school up yonder. So you can't use that word, Grandmama. She said, but that's what they call me. I said, no, Grandma, I can't stay here with you if you keep using that word. See how gullible people are? Wow. I got my speech in my back pocket. So I'm going to take it out and read it. And it used to be what I call my propaganda packet, at least that thick. It must have been 10,000 words. But some of my advisors told me we were never going to get anybody to understand what I was trying to talk about if I didn't reduce it to 100 words or less. I reduced it to 100 words. So I'm going to read before I explain how we going to pay for all of this. I guess I should say what brought me here. Professor Smith read in a Mississippi paper, as he indicated when he introduced me, that James Meredith wanted to go to every county in the state of Mississippi. This is the first county. This one. And raise the moral character of the people. I've been living, my next birthday be 90 years. Sidetracked on that. Maybe I better go. The James Meredith Bible Society seeks to give people a healthy outlook on life through greater self-development in body, in mind, and in spirit. The attainment of this goal is through physical fitness. I hate to sidetrack, but I got you on that. I went to Water Valley, Yalobusha County, Mississippi. And everything important people whisper in your ear. And they had 3 seats. Like they got one here, they had 3. And one was the chair sitting beside my chair, my seat. And 3 or 4 blacks sat in that chair and told me what I should have already known, that their children didn't have anything to do when they were not in school. I'd heard that 1,000 times from blacks all over America, particularly all over Mississippi. The attainment of this goal is through physical fitness. Anybody don't have nothing to do when they're not in school cannot prepare themselves physically. And what they're talking about, they don't have nowhere to play baseball, football, or any other kind of sport. And they done took out of just about every black school in Mississippi music, anything that teach you how to work with your hands. The reason we did so well between 1920 and 1980 was because we all had been on the farm. And on the farm, you learn how to work with your hands. So when they went to California, when they went to New York, when they went to Detroit, when they went to Chicago, they could be taught how to do things because they knew how to work with their hands. And most of us never pay any attention. We all know that we took music in school. I remember my music teacher better than any other because we had to sing every morning in chapel before we went to class. That's all gone now. I'm going to read my other 100 words. Mental training, religious ideas, and religious ideas is the best thing that you can learn and concentrate on. I just read a PhD paper by somebody that's already a Reverend Doctor. But they've done a study on how to build the black community that's, we all hear about what's happening with the crime, with the public school system, and that's another thing. Every period, we all hear about the D and F schools in the black community. Has anybody in here haven't heard about that? Okay, I see most people don't pay no attention to nothing. Now, I checked on a bunch of them D and F schools. Guess what I found? Every single one of them, every position in the system, from the superintendent to the secretary, was black. Something wrong with that picture. We done took over everything and it's worse. Something wrong with that picture. One of the things wrong is that most of us don't know what the problems are. You can't do nothing about something you don't know anything about. After religious ideas come fellowship and service. Service is really important because anybody that don't help other people ain't never gonna be no real value in the society. The purpose of the Bible Society, and I'll talk about that more later, because that's what I established many years ago. And I'm going to talk about that later. purpose of the Bible Society is to develop leadership and guidance for the people by making sure that everything needed is provided. If the children need something to do when they're not in school, it should be provided. And the job that I'm hoping the Bible Society mission will do is provide that. The other thing that we want to do is to create a think tank. America is run by think tanks. Some of you have heard about the Heritage Foundation, the Cato Institute, and all of the education establishments that study the problems and point the problems out to the people who are trying to correct them. So the Bible Society's mission is to make everything needed known to the General and Council of the Society in order to accomplish the goals of physical fitness, mental training, religious ideals, fellowship, and service. Now, I've been talking about the Bible Society for many years. Haven't had much closer to saying I haven't had any luck raising money to provide these things that the people need. So over the last several weeks, I've thought of a new idea. And the first people gonna hear about it are the people sitting in this audience. And my idea is to ask everybody willing to do so to give $1 or more to the James Meredith Historical Museum to be built in Jackson, and the James Meredith Mission Headquarters to be built in Jackson. But the idea is not about Jackson or James Meredith. I want to see a mission building in every county, in every major town. And the purpose would be to make sure that whatever the people need is known about and provided. accomplished that. And the first people to know about this, because it was only about 4 o'clock this evening that I found out that the bank account that will receive this dollar or more has been set up. And I'm asking anybody who's willing to do so to provide $1. And anybody ambitious enough? One of the books in the middle there, Man on a Mission, was published last month by Arkansas University Press. And I think it's the best book ever been written with my name in it. I really do. And anybody that donate $100 will get a free Man on a Mission book. But the important thing is anybody who will give $1 or more can find the website James Meredith online.com. I didn't really remember it, I got it wrote down. What happens tonight at Northeast Junior College will give me a sense of direction as to how I can get my story better so I have more success when I go to the next camp. So, I'm going to hush my mouth and answer any question anybody may have. Yes?
Why did you originally choose to go to Ole Miss?
Somebody need to help me. I don't hear good as I used to.
Yes, why did you originally choose to go to Ole Miss?
Why did
you originally choose to go to Ole Miss?
Number one, I'd heard for years, since I was a boy, that Ole Miss was the best school in Mississippi. Because anybody thought they was entitled to the best, it was me. I don't know, you looked at me like I didn't answer that question.
Thank you.
Yes,
All right, so when you was getting ready to go to Ole Miss for the first time, what was your feelings?
I promised God I wasn't gonna lie no more. That's the special fundraiser. See that picture? That picture was taken 5 minutes after I registered as a student at the University of Mississippi. And what I look like to me on that picture is like I just kicked some butt. first class at Ole Miss. And guess what? When I went, Ole Miss told me I may never graduate. But guess how long it took me to get my degree? Less than 10 months. I'm gonna leave that alone. Yes, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am.
What is it like seeing your name in history books?
What is it like seeing your name in history books?
I've been trying to straighten that wrong that they put in there out for 60 years. But now they have started to print a literal truth. And I guess I can say it here. There's nobody here under 6, I don't think. No, I better leave that alone. But now, some of the good guys tell me that I was a badass nigga. But I think this black-white race issue, you gotta understand, there ain't no historian don't know that it was Mississippi that created in 1890, the last constitution that Mississippi wrote, and it is still the constitution of the land. Mississippi Constitution of 1890 established the dual system of criminal justice in America. Ain't a historian in America don't know that. As a matter of fact, most politicians still talk about the fact that Mississippi in 1890 Constitution eliminated the black vote. But everybody lie and pretend like they don't know the truth. And I personally think that if Mississippi take the lead, and a month ago, the University of Mississippi announced that they were starting a year-long celebration of 60 years of integration at Ole Miss. It don't matter to me whether they're lying or telling the truth. I'm gonna act like it's true. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Chriselle, and I had a question in regards to being in an integrated school. peers kind of shunned you or made you feel less than because in that age, oh, now you came to the white people, you trying to be like them. How many friends or families have you lost in relationship wise because you decided to pursue your own education in the way that you thought was best?
I'm gonna need you to help me re-articulate that one.
How many friends did you lose in trying to pursue your education in the black community?
How
Did they
many
feel like you
friends?
were being
No.
a sellout?
How many friends in the black community did you lose for pursuing your education? How many people felt like you were a
I
sellout?
don't mind telling the truth, but I don't want to be hung. Well, this is the truth and it ain't me. The president of Jackson State when I went there was Jacob L. Reddish. He never acted like he knew me when I was on the campus and he was the president. But when he resigned, when he retired, he invited me and my wife to his house. And he told me how proud he was of the fact that all of the people downtown tried to get him to do anything that would make me ineligible to transfer from Jackson State to Ole Miss. And he refused to do it. But he also told me something else. He told me that every teacher out there wanted to hang me from a tree. And all of the students, but you gotta understand, self-interest is something people should be concerned about. I went to Jackson State in 1960. Got out of the military. That same year, the legislature met between January and April. And they passed a teacher pay raise for blacks. Black teachers were making $500 a month or less. But the new pay raise was $2,300. If you went to Jackson State, Alcorn, Mississippi Valley, and got a teacher's certificate, had nobody got one yet. But all of the families had scraped together this money. Tuition wasn't but $55 a quarter. I mean, but that was still quite a burden for blacks making less than $500 a month. And for that reason, everybody going to that school, except maybe 10% of the students, were trying to get a teaching certificate because a teaching certificate meant a new car. It meant a whole change of life for the whole family. I don't think I can add nothing to what President Jacob Reddish told me. I mean, and that's the God's truth. And I will say this. I might really get run out of here this time. The strongest supporters of the system of white supremacy is carried out by segregation is the black elite. Don't you understand? The highest paid officials, highest paid people in the state of Mississippi, paid by the government, were people who were paid by the state. Most people never think of themselves as state employees when they're teaching. But every teacher's pay comes from the state. And so it's so easy to not deal with the truth. And we need to start dealing with the truth.
Another question?
Right
Are you glad, are you satisfied with the way that, teachers around the country are telling the story?
Are you satisfied with the way that teachers around the country are telling the story?
Most of them don't know the truth. Very few Americans know that Wall Street had more to do with what happened to blacks in Mississippi than anybody in Mississippi. The truth is hard to come by.
Did I see a hand raised in the back? Would anyone else, I'm sorry, would anyone else like to ask a question before we leave?
Oh, I forgot to promote my books. As I said, the last time I was in Boonville, they bought more books than anybody except Tupelo, and Tupelo's about 20 times bigger. So, okay, there are three years in Mississippi. Ole Miss republished it last year, and they said it was the best book ever published on the black-white race issue in the world. I believe them. A mission from God. That is actually, until Ole Miss republished 3 years, that was my biggest selling book. And all three of these are my biggest fundraisers. So, Man on a Mission, you can either get one free, all three of these is $50 each. They are basically fundraisers. Because I'm serious about doing all I can before I pass on to upgrade the moral character of our people. And everybody claim like we don't have a low moral character. Our crime problem will never be solved if we don't start dealing with the moral character issue. Our public school will never be improved if we don't start dealing The only person you can teach anything is a student that can sit still and pay attention. And I will sign any book anybody want to buy, and I don't know, can we take credit cards or just money? What? Money and checks. So all of y'all in here that want one, got friends that's got tons of money.
Let's give Mr. Meredith a round of applause.